Hi everyone, so for today's video, I wanted to share with you all my first day in Japan. I decided that I would do kind of like a talk through and then throw in footages of when I was in Japan just because it's kind of all over the place. I took snippets here and there, and then just putting it together seemed a little chaotic. I just thought this would be the best way to tell people where I went, to give them some of my thoughts and opinions after going to it. So this is my Japan and China travel series. So you'll see this every Sunday. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Day one in Japan. So after my gruesome however long flight I was in to Japan, from New York to Japan, when I landed in Japan, I met up with my friend Kate. She's watching this. Hey girl. I met her in Kansai International Airport in Osaka, and then from there we got a subway pass or a rail pass to go to Kyoto because that was our first stop on our trip. So the funny story, so Japan is very organized and they have a method of doing like everything with a reason, which I really love about Japan, just because I feel like New York or the Western world I'm just gonna say New York could really use it. Besides the point. So, funny story, we didn't buy a like a premium ticket or a special ticket to reserve a seat. We just bought tickets for the train, and the one we got was like the general or like the commoner one, and it was a first come first serve basis on these trains. So we ended up not having a seat, but there was enough space for our luggage to be at and all that good stuff. We ended up putting our luggage on one side and then we walked over to premium seating. We were hoping we weren't going to get kicked out because we were sitting there for like a good 10-15 minutes and no one had like come up to us. But then a person comes in and he starts checking tickets and he was like, "Oh, you guys aren't supposed to be here. Like, you didn't reserve it." So we got kicked out of that cart and we ended up just standing in the areas where like there's a whole like where the doors are. So that was actually pretty nice because you get to see like a whole landscape of Japan. And I mean, I say it's pretty nice, but when you're in those trains, all you really see are trees and houses, like any other place in the world when you're in transit to the actual like city center. And then we ended up in Kyoto, and our first stop was to drop off our stuff at Airbnb. So the Airbnb, I'll list the host down below and more information about them, but this Airbnb and a lot of the Airbnbs that we actually ended up staying in Japan were pretty nice. This one was pretty spacious. The bathroom situation was a little cramped, but we were only there for one night, so it wasn't that bad. I say it's pretty cramped, but it was all functional. And me going to like Korea and all that stuff, I kind of know how small these bathrooms, or I know that the bathtub and the shower situation might not be like separated. It's not as like divided as it is here in America. I feel like in Asia, they condense a lot of things together. And for me, it's just functionality. So I didn't mind it. I actually liked it. And it was a good stay. So the Airbnb place was really convenient because it was in Gion. And Gion in Kyoto is the region where geishas and the gangsters used to be, but obviously now as time goes on, they don't roam the streets as easily as they once did. But I love the environment there. There was so many shopping things nearby and food things nearby, so that place was definitely poppin' if you guys are wondering where to go in Kyoto. We ended up going to this restaurant nearby that was popular for their black soup ramen. I thought this was interesting because the black soup is supposed to have this, forgot what ingredient it is, but I didn't try it out because I wanted my first meal in Japan to be a good meal. And I'm not saying that that wasn't going to be a good meal, but the black soup kind of like threw me off. And I wasn't like for sure about what it was. My first meal in Japan was A plus. And actually on that first day, we ended up taking a bus to one of the temples. I forget the names of the temples. I'm like really bad with like Japanese like historical sites and stuff. Like I should get on my A game on that. I really like that place. It something about temples and the architect of it just like amazes me. We had to hike up a little bit for it, and while we were hiking up, and it was like pretty late, I would say, like we were there at like 4 or 5, and things were starting to like close down as our way down. But while we were going up, everything was still popping. There were so many shops and stuff, like just walking up the hills, that I was like, wow, like I need to go shopping. So we ended up hiking up that. We got to the temple. They said they were closing at 5, and we got there around like 4:45. But they weren't really like physically kicking us out when it was like 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before. They were all pretty nice about it. And eventually people started trickling down anyways. I don't know. Japan just has a system where everyone's kind of on their A game and they know what the hell to do, even the tourists. But anyways, I really like that temple, and definitely like the sights that I got to see up there of the whole city landscape. And the pictures that I took there, it was a really nice temple. So on the way down, it was obviously after 5, the shop started closing, and I was like, oh my, no, I need to go shopping. So the only really places that were open were like the main souvenir stuff and some food stuff. So the only things that I got in Kyoto on that visit was my cat pouch, because I really wanted like a Japanese, like a wallet for my Japanese currencies and stuff, because I like having separate wallets for separate currencies and just to make my life more organized. So I ended up picking up this cat pouch because I'm one of those people who like having all my money and my coins all in one place, and then having a card in a separate place. So I ended up picking this, and it was only like $5. And then I also ended up picking these earrings, and this can all be seen in my Japan trip haul, Japan plus China trip haul, which I will link down below in the cards above me. Those were the only 2 things that I bought while I was in Kyoto, which I'm not too mad about, but I think I definitely need to go back to Kyoto and visit it a little bit more, just because I only stayed there for like 2 days. Oh, and then for dinner, we ended up in the Gion area, and we were just kind of walking around there. So we ended up going to an izakaya that I think we found on Google Maps that had 4 stars. So izakaya are like Japanese pubs, so I really wanted to try out the sake there as well. The restaurant, like their sake came in like a bottle this size, and I was like, damn, I want that home. But obviously I can't bring this size home. I just never saw a sake in a bottle that size before, but I was like, whoa, what is that? We ended up ordering 2 different kinds of sake, a hot and a cold. I've never tried hot sake before, but wow, that was really good. I just thought in like my head, like sake already warms up your body, so why would you want it warm? But I actually liked it like that. I don't like, there was something like soothing about it. The menu had like the different sweetness and like, strengths to them. So I think we ended up ordering like a 9 or a 12 or something, but it was pretty good. And another thing that I found out in Japan is that they really like, or they had this option where your soup and your rice is put together, and then they have like something on top of it, like an egg or a salmon or chicken or whatever, and I forgot what that's called, but I thought it was interesting that they had that. I really like dumping soup into my rice and eating it together. And then we pretty much just walked around the Gion area. It's really pretty at night. Didn't really do a lot of shopping there, just because a lot of the stores like on the path we were walking, near like the trains and stuff, were all closed. And then in that area in Gion that we were walking in was all like pricier items. So that was my day 1 in Japan. I will see you next week for day 2. Bye.